Imagine is him with the nose and just it's the panda when he's talking so serious. I couldn't.
You know what? I was expecting it to be. I knew he'd be a panda, but I expected him to come with the moustache anyway, because that's kind of been the theme for Scott anyway. But he's basically Custache at this point. Okay, so look, we have a good idea of like the two different styles which we expect to see between these teams, and I think Atlanta's coach, Brad, tweeted it yesterday. He said like a defensive team composition doesn't make you a defensively strong team. And that was, I think, what we've learned in Atlanta's matchup against the Seoul Dynasty. Both teams, for the most part, wanted to play similarly, but Atlanta were able to execute on that bunker-based strategy a little bit more effectively. In the case of the Gladiators, though, Matthew, I mean, they've always been the shields-up team. That's why this analogy is going to confuse us, because they're actually the spear in this scenario. They're the aggressors. They're the team that wants to leverage these wrecking ball compositions and traits of prowess to really punch through defensive setups.
Well, I think like what Scott was saying as well, though, like, you know, they can also play some of the Orisa setup, where I think that kind of really is the difference between these two teams, where the Atlanta Reign, you don't really see them go to the wrecking ball stuff, because honestly, they really don't have to at times. You see the Gladiators starting 6, nothing surprising. This has been what they've gone with throughout the entire Countdown Cup.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Obviously, Kevster and Birdring here at DPS. And listen, you know, I think between Birdring and Lee, there was a lot of interesting Sombra moments here. You know, Birdring's, you know, couple decent EMPs, but for the most part, he's sort of just trying to hit the front line, right? There's actually a similar criticism that was leveraged at Lip for a time in the APAC region, that, you know, he was often getting these like 2-player EMPs, and people were like, well, this is, you know, wildly insufficient. And the discussion was really around trying to shut down the D.Va's mobility or just ruin the Orisa, right? Make it so like the front line can't use those abilities. That seemed to be more important than letting a Sombra wait and waste time trying to get like a 6-player EMP. So Birdring, yeah, he's not getting everybody with those EMPs, but he's been pretty solid, I think, on the Sombra yesterday, going up against the Hunters, which was just a mess of a match to sort of pass through, right? That Route 66 was a little bit worrying for the Gladiators. They really didn't get any traction on that map.
Yeah, and I think it kind of just speaks to the Hunters of how good of a team I think they are, in that, you know, they did not play their best yesterday. It was still a very close game against the Gladiators team, who was very good. I think Skewed playing some Zen yesterday was a little bit of a different look. You know, when they were able to run, you know, some Zen Batiste, he was able to, you know, provide some extra damage. But yeah, just the teamwork between, you know, Kevster, you know, Shu, whether he's playing the Zen, and then Muse being able to dive was tremendous. We can take a look at Atlanta 6. It won't be anything too surprising with this 6 players coming up for the Atlanta Reign. You know, Kai and Pelican in yet again, and then really everything else kind of standard, right? That they never really kind of switch anybody outside of one of the DPS.
Yeah, absolutely. Very solid, solidified lineup here, obviously with the exception of that just rotating player. You know, I really do think that, you know, over the last season or so, Master has started to emerge as genuinely a sort of a franchise kind of player. You know, his brig, to be fair, like, he was known for this high-flying Lucio play, had some big boots, especially on maps like Oasis here. But on his brig, he really stands out. He's very aggressive. He actually is 17th out of 20 for deaths. So he's actually got one of the highest amount of deaths per 10 as a brig player. But he has almost the highest uptime percentage for Inspire. So yeah, he might be dying quite often, but he's actually providing more healing than almost anybody else with Brigitte, because he's constantly in the front line swinging. So it's kind of mental that he's able to get so much healing done despite not spending as much time alive as, you know, the other people that he'd be compared to on Brigitte. It's that aggressive sort of tendency that Master has that allows Atlanta as a unit, Matt, play a defensive composition, but apply some pace and actually go aggressive with a setup that's not super mobile.
See, for me, I always thought Master was a pretty strong player in terms of the main support role. I actually think the kind of like the biggest spots where they upgraded, you know, obviously they upgraded DPS, bringing Kai and Pelican, but I feel like it would have gone for nothing if the tank line and then Iris didn't live up to their potential, which I really feel like they have this year. You know, Gator and Hawk, and they may not play as much dive or, you know, aggressive style of play as others. But when they're able to play the Reinhardt and the Orisa comps and whatnot, they look very, very good. And then Iris, you know, in terms of the flex supports, may have gone under the radar a little bit this year, but you know, his Batiste is very good as well, where I think those 3 players, I know when you combo that with how consistent Masa is, and then just the explosiveness between Kai, Pelican, and Edison, that's how you end up with a team this good. I really feel like it's that tank line that has taken another step forward this year, though.
Yeah, as mentioned on the desk, right? You have 2 of the top 4 D.Va players in the entirety of the league according to our power rankings going head-to-head. And both of these actually, although the desk says that, you know, they play a little bit differently, the one thing they have in common is that they have a pretty similar amount of sort of final blows and eliminations. Both of them have aggressive tendencies. Space is very, very good at especially locating Zenyatas in the enemy backline and sort of diving on them. You'll see a lot of kills from both these D.Va players that are a result of individual judgment and then picking out a target and just going for it. That's what they also offer to this team outside of the other defensive capacity that D.Va has. We'll be kicking off this series. It is a 1st-to-3 series, heading into Oasis. Just a moment.
Oh, I love the game chat. Some bands. Yeah, well, it was that Gator originally. Is hey, you know, maybe they were watching COD Champs. They got a little bit excited with some of the stuff in the chat. You know, everyone just bandering each other. I mean, that is just fun, right? And also, I bet you both teams think they're just gonna 3-0 easy the other team, right? As we'll see what both teams come out with here at the start. Pelican gonna TP them out of the base, maybe go over to Tracer. Could see the same exact type of setup. The Gladiators, though, hovering over with the Batiste Zen, which is what I was talking about a little bit earlier. We saw Skewed play the Zen yesterday in their matches, and they were fantastic with it.
Number 1 in final blows per 10 in the whole league on McCree is Kai with over 9, which is a pretty good number for McCree in general, especially with all the shields in play. Here we go now towards Garden. Torp turret already set up in the middle of the map here, and Kai looking for opportunities around the column. Okay.
It's a Discord that goes on a Gator. It's a Discord, some damage from Bird Ring. It's a huge wrinkle in the kind of the composition that we don't see a lot of other teams do because they're not able to play 2 flex supports, right? And, you know, Skewed is coming in on the Zen here, and the Discord early really kind of wins them that fight. Some big damage that came down from Bird Ring as well. You can also see with the Reign's composition how much they value not letting Kevster just run over them when they're playing the McCree and Torbjorn combo.
Switch to the Reign here as the Reign want to brawl a little more. Again, I mean, your composition tilt's so aggressive when you've got a Baptiste and Zen there. The Reign want to try and stick together and brawl out, but Kevster wants to try and take advantage of this. Keeping a very respectful distance away from Master, though, understandably. And here comes the Amp Matrix from that left-hand side. Shoes popped in immediately, and Gator couldn't get back to safety. Iris straight away goes for an immortality field of his own, but it's not going to save him. Kevster finds 2 with the bomb, and the Gladiators looking much sharper early here.
And all of the Reign push onto the point. And the Gladiators, they back up. They have Shoe drop and Amp Matrix, and it's just Muse on the point by himself, and he does a fantastic job, you know, juggling with his shield and playing around that central pillar, staying alive, actually gets a halt and a finish there. As it splits the Reign, they're not able to kind of run through to take out Muse because of the Amp Matrix, and they're just stuck taking unanswered damage on the side as Gladiators look good early. Nice kill at the start there from Pelican, though.
Pelican just firing there from behind his Reinhardt, able to find Bird Ring, a crucial kill here. Molten Core's going to be available, but there should be no need to use it. This space is desuited very early on, and the Transcendence is frankly just a little late. Molten Core now from Pelican. He'll keep most of the Gladiators shut up inside that building, force them to take the high ground approach. Kai there doing what he does best, a headshot, forcing Kevster away.
And they're trying to come from both sides, the Gladiators, as they're going to have the Amp Matrix up on the high ground. You have both supports here, and then Muse drops a Supercharger on the way in.
Great situational awareness there from Shu. Just drops a single healing grenade down, checks the high ground quickly, but Hawk's going to find a self-destruct kill on Muse. Here's the Amp Matrix now, and this is where Kai is poised to do his deadliest work. Oh my, Skewed dicing with death there as he peeks out, and Kai deals with him there. Amp Matrix boosted McCree. It's scary stuff.
I was going to say, the Gladiators threw a lot into that fight. Space ends up using a self-destruct towards the end. Maybe thinks he's going to be able to get back in his mech. Not able to do so. Kevster moves away from Tracer, and he'll go to May. So we saw the Seoul Dynasty try and go with May a decent amount yesterday in their game, and it did not look good. Let's see if the Gladiators are able to make a better use out of this.
Gator just making sure he can see around the corner here. Earth Shatter in tow. As soon as he gets past this Orisa barrier, it's on for young and old. The Discord orb on him, though, should give him pause for thought, but he goes for the Shatter anyway and knocks 2 down. It's going to be an immortality field immediately coming out from Shu, but the Reign still want a fight. Birdring on the high ground here, and Kai clips him. He's forced to back up now, though, as the Immortality Field will allow him to escape the purview of that Ant Matrix. Here's a wall. Kai knows Birdring's on the high ground, but doesn't have a shot right now, and Birdring in the meantime is able to find Masa. Skewed with the Transcendence, and the Gladiators get aggressive behind the Zenyatta ultimate. It's just the DPS left for the Rain, and they'll be dealt with pretty shortly. 81 and counting now for the Gladiators, back in control.
It's still a good point hold from the Atlanta Reign, right? You get into a tie scenario, you're at least going to give yourself another fight here, and you're going to have Rally and an Amp Matrix at the start. See if Birdring maybe, he's going to have a difficult time getting back to the team, and he's got this Deadeye.
That's a huge wall. Unreal stuff. Kevster with the mid-round May switch. Can they punish this, though? It looks like the Gladiators don't fancy getting too close to the Rhine yet, but here's the Molten Core. Kevster has to respect this as well, but at the same time, he needs to find an opportunity to let this Blizzard go. Birdring with the Deadeye, interrupted there by Kai. He's able to get away with his life, which is more than many who go up against him can say. Scooter's going to be removed here, and Kevster needs to throw up the wall for his own safety. It causes Hawk to have to go elsewhere into the throng of Gladiators players waiting for him on the point. And it's a strong start from Los Angeles here. The Atlanta Reign fall off at the end of the round.
Yeah, very good start here for the LA Gladiators, as we'll see now as we go into the next point how both of these teams decide to play. One thing that I think you can note here is that Atlanta, playing that Torbjorn and Krieg was able to force Kevster off of the Tracer pick, which he was so good with yesterday. So maybe they're able to do that.
Do you think he's playing that also because of the Reinhardt, Matt? Switching to the May because the Rhine's maybe an easier option to catch with the wall?
I think it's definitely the swap. When they bring the May in, when they see the Reinhardt, you're able to split the Reinhardt off a bit more, kind of deter that rush and brawly style of play, right? If the Rhine takes a few steps up too many, you can just wall him off with ease.
Good bit of flexibility displayed there by the Gladiators. Okay, Farah for Pelican. Birdring going to be on the Hangzhou here, and both teams with a wrecking ball here. Very different backline compositions, though. The Gladiators going with Zen Brig against the Farah, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, Zen Brig is what we've seen a lot of teams run in the past, right? It's definitely diveable, as they combo the Farah with a 76 as well, can access this high ground. So you're going to try and really ignore the Farah and go for the backline, but it's not working out thus far.
I mean, two types of rockets there heading towards Birdring. It's going to be the one of the Helix variety that claims the kill. Kai and Pelican converge on the same target, and Birdring switches to the Soldier 76 now, so it's clear to see that, I mean, neither of these DPS players can really be ignored for too much longer, Matthew. Kai gets pile drove there, but he only had eyes for Kevster. Wants to try and pressure this Tracer as much as possible. The Rain moving in control early, and that's a beautiful long-range hit. Kai's in the chat with that one.
I mean, he is...
The question mark? Oh my god, we're there already? Unreal.
His aim is sick. I mean, when Kevster's trying to put pressure on him, he's able to defend himself as the 76, and that's massive because that's the type of kill that Kevster and Muse want to be able to pick off, right? You ignore the Farah, you go in with a Discord, you try and burn somebody down. Hawk doing a good job defending the back line along his Kai.
Pelican starting to sizzle a little bit now with the nano boost. Thinks about the Zen. Doesn't want to go too deep here. We know so much damage the Zen Brick setup can do, but now he's found his target in a more compromising position, goes to the left side. Resurrected there, though, as that's a huge biotic grenade there from Iris. Not only is Pelican back in the fight, but the Gladiators are looking decidedly worse for wear. The Rain now at 43% and counting, and the Glads look in no better shape to try and contest this. They're waiting on Shu's Transcendence, I'm sure, but Iris could really ruin that party on his Ana.
Yeah, and I mean, you're just waiting for Shu to get back into the fight. That'll be a self-destruct here from Space just to get a mech back. And they're able to take out Kai finally.
Transcendence is going to be online soon. Looks like the Gladiators have their best shot right now for a retake. Not having to use that key ultimate is going to be huge in the later fights.
So the Glads will retake. So I think this maybe forces Atlanta Reign to at least contemplate like a switch. Do you want to try and retake with this Farah composition as Birdring pushes up, takes a little duel with Kai, ends up winning that. Do you feel confident enough in attacking with this Farah comp? Because now as the Farah is like moving on in, you can maybe get some more offensive, more aggressive plays now out of the Gladiators towards this backline.
You can come from a myriad of different directions on this Farah setup without being seen. Look at that, you can break line of sight there just using the building, the general architecture. Birdring can't even really contest that. Pelican can just peek out every now and then and force them away, and that's attack buys that doesn't get much value here. Nano boost here on a Kai who does not have attack himself, but looking for a bit of extra damage and durability and a D-Mech. All good things. Everything that the Atlanta Rain is looking for now is they want to try and move in for a retake, but Hawk could be in trouble here. Pulse Bomb's going to make that a D-Mech, and they'll remove the D.Va as well.
Yeah, and you had Gator, who was actually trying to kill Shu on the opposite side, but a Discord, some protection there from Skewed. He's not able to do it. Didn't have like a Tracer there with him, where that's where the Rain are lacking in this type of comp. You don't have that Tracer to go in, with your Wrecking Ball, really relying on a lot of the Pharah damage and, damage at range from the 76 for the Wrecking Ball to go in and finish off. So a little bit easier for Muse and the Gladiators to work on, the Wrecking Ball going in, making an impact, and then also having some dive follow-up.
My eyes are on Pelican right now to try and find a way in. Right now being shut out for the most part. The Gladiators give up the choke, so they go back to taking those high ground positions with the jump pad. Pelican has a decent advantage here just to pressure the high ground now, and the minefield goes up. That's going to force Skewed to shield bash his way onto the point itself. And the Rain are a little split right now. Everybody's focusing on Pelican. Even Space goes up there for a little visit. And Gator swings toward to the point. It's going to have to be the Atlanta Rain starting something up right about now, but Gator's already gone down. Birdring caught him with the Discord Orb on him from Shu as well. Kevster eyeing off the back line. Iris better have a plan in mind to deal with this. Tracer, the stick is perfect, and Kai is down. Pelican's going to get there with the barrage, but it's only the one kill for the time being. Space is actually able to kill Masa in mini D.Va form and get back in the mech. He's taking us to Value Town, ladies and gentlemen. And now Kevster still gets to roam around this fight, and Hawk being desuited again is not a good sign for the Atlanta Rain. Birdring was picked up there after the fact, but now it's just Gator trying to stall. Overtime will tick down awfully quickly the second he steps off the point. And that's what we see. The Los Angeles Gladiators start strong here on Control.
Yes, the Gladiators able to use two very different compositions, right? One with the Orisa, with the Batiste and the Zen, and then their dive with the Wrecking Ball in the mix, and they looked great on both of them. I think the Atlanta Rain also looked pretty strong here in map number 1. I think what they kind of have to look at is if they're going to play that Wrecking Ball, you got to give a consistent partner with Gator to make an impact.
One map down in this first of 3 series here. Plenty of trash talk in the chat, but maybe the Rain get a little quieter now as they try and find a way to get their own map on the board. Stick around for that one, ladies and gentlemen. Assault is up after the break.
I'm coming. Nice.
Good job.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by TeamSpeak, the official voice supplier of the Overwatch League.
Strong start here for the Los Angeles Gladiators in this first 3 match against the Atlanta Reign. Matthew, control is Oasis. And once the Gladiators on that second round managed to shut that Pharaoh composition out of the main area of City Center, out of the middle of the map, it's very difficult for Pelican and Cody to get back in. And we actually have a substitution here. So obviously Pelican's not with the team in Hawaii, so he's been contesting with some high ping problems. And Edison will now be subbed in here for this map.
Yeah, sounds like Pelican may be dealing with some higher ping today than yesterday. So Edison will come in here for map number 2. We have seen them win with Edison. He's also, you kind of look back at last season, obviously it feels like an eternity ago. He was one of like these standout players that got signed, right? That people were really hyped about coming into the league. This year, it's just with, Kai, Pelican on this team. He's kind of like fallen out of the rotation. Well, maybe not the rotation, right? But he's fallen out of consistent play where he's in all the time.
Last year, I think, I think a lot of people weighed in on this, but we had Erster on this roster, right, for the Atlanta Reign. Erster seemed to many people like he was expected to be sort of a lock for this team, sort of rookie of the year candidate, yada, yada, yada. Edison ends up getting a lot more of that playtime. Like the Reign ends up finding him to be far more dependable, on that DPS role. This year, I think Atlanta have much more versatility across the DPS position now, obviously with Pelican, Edison, and Kai all being available to them. And so, yeah, we get to see Edison at times. I think right now, right, you probably have to argue that there's some extenuating circumstances with Atlanta Reign that they don't actually have Pelican there with them. But listen, Edison comes in. We were impressed with him. We obviously saw him in the lead up here. He played alongside Kai, and we know that both these players are really good at the hit scan. We see him play a bit of Torb as well. That gets swapped between the two of these.
And Edison's tracer last year was really good. It's not like
absolutely.
It was bad.
Yeah, well, so it's not just hit scan that this guy is sort of able to bring here. Remember as well, Matt, there's a lot on the line in this kind of game in terms of playoff implications here. We see some moments from the Gladiators.
Yeah, exactly. So if the Gladiators were to win this series, they guarantee themselves to get into the playoffs via not having to play in the play-ins, one of those guaranteed top 3 spots. Atlanta's already up there, so kind of think about who that affects. That would be the San Francisco Shock, who then are on the outside looking in. And then obviously still seeding in that top 3 for these 2 teams to play for throughout the weekend. So a lot on the line in this match. We kind of can even hit some of the APAC match, right, coming up after this between Chengdu and Seoul. A lot on the line there. The pre-show talked about. I know with only 1 league point separating them, that win would get whoever wins it an extra league point. So a lot on the line here in the Countdown Cup playoffs outside of just this tournament trophy, right?
We really got more than we bargained for here in Hawaii, didn't we? With all of the implications from these matches. And there's a world where like these league points here don't really affect standings to such a degree, but all of our teams here are on the cusp of locking down guaranteed playoff spots. In fact, the 2 teams that have guaranteed playoff spots are not actually here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So kind of wild to see that. Obviously, Shanghai Dragons coach Moon sort of said, look, hey, we're trying to stave off some fatigue here. So we're not, we're practicing, but we have limited the number of practice hours in this Countdown Cup, and maybe that shows obviously in terms of their standing. But they got what they came for when it comes to league points this season. These 2, though, again, being able to skip the play-ins is huge, because that's It's always the part of the year, man, when these dark horse teams come out and you get these upsets. And the Gladiators know full well what it's like to get upset just before.
Think about some of the crazy games. Some of the crazy games we've seen in like knockouts throughout this season.
Sure.
And then think about the, like even more pressure on the teams and players in that type of situation. Where,
yeah, I mean the tendency for teams the teams that had a bye in first round of knockouts tended to get knocked out in that match.
Hanamura will be the next map up in the series. That'll be the Atlanta Reign pick. Yeah, you think about APAC, right? Like, potentially the loser of that match. Obviously, they would be the highest seed, but you have to play the winner of like a Hangzhou Philly Fusion game, right? In like a win and get in. Like, you don't feel great about that, right? And some other teams on the outside in NA who look scary with like the Justice could show up at any moment. Toronto, the Paris. I mean, there's a lot of teams that pretty scary. The Outlaws as well, right?
Seoul don't want to play against Philly anymore. I know the last time they played it was 3-1 with a draw in the Assault map. You know what I mean? Like, it's always like a knockdown, drag-out fight between those two. It's just, it's always this war of attrition, right? But here on Hanamura, we'll see the Atlanta Reign start on defense. And it is going to be Edison on the Farah here. So, this might answer the question. To what degree does he just fill the gaps, perhaps, that Pelican Lees would not be able to play right now?
Yeah, it's interesting they decide to go with the Farah setup here. We'll see how the Gladiators elect to respond. Are they going to go Mason and just kind of play for the point? No, I think they realize that it's Farah. They're going to back up.
I wonder what they were hoping to see that would enable. Maybe they were hoping to see a Reinhardt composition, and that would make them want to go point. But that would be even more brawly. So unclear. But whatever it is that they've seen, it's prompted them to switch over to the Hangzhou and the Tracer. And again, it's this Baptiste Zen setup.
Yeah, it's having the map with the Discord Orb available as well has made a big difference, as you see Hawk just trying to use his Matrix. But he gets Discord, has to back up straight away. The Discord, especially with like a Tracer and a Hanzo in the mix, is so scary.
It's risky, right? But you can see how much having the Zenyatta here can add. Edison obviously is looking to punish that. One tick, yeah. That's Kevster. Skew does go down here, but Kevster continues to contest, and he's actually pressuring Hawk so much so that the Immortality Field has to be used just for a D.Va, and that gets removed now. Edison's forced to back away, but Hawk is going to be dissuited now, and the Gladiators are able to transition over towards the point here. Hawk somehow still alive. If they can get him back in the mech, that'd be a very good result here, but it could take some time before that's possible. Or he could just headshot space in mini-D.Va form and get his mech back straight away. That's also totally fine.
Yeah, you didn't have Skewed or Shu there, so people just started to take so much damage from the Farah. That's actually a halt from Gator onto Bird Ring, but Bird Ring kills him.
Kai goes down as well. Kevster finds a pulse bomb, and Edison is, full health now, but he had to back away from the choke, which is a small window that the Gladiators have been able to use to move on in. Kai's lost his turret now, and Edison is hunting. Thought someone might have been underneath that platform. Eyes now for Birdring, wants to deal with the Hangzhou, so the rest of his team are spared his wrath, and so he does. Muse is in deep trouble here. That Immortality Field will get removed. And Edison is looking pretty good here, Matthew.
Yeah, no, Edison has put down a significant amount of damage in these fights. He's going to get taken out here towards the end, but still, you're still in this for the Reign. You're going to get a D-Mech here on his space. You got an Amp Matrix down.
Well, space versus one turrety boy. Who's going to win? Bit of a trade there. Kai's able to find the kill via his turret.
Kevster has just gone on.
He's a psycho.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's been able to deal with him. I mean, as soon as he blinked in and got there, there's been no resistance to him just putting down damage in the back line. Okay, so this is a big change-up. So I thought I was going to say Doom, but no, it'll be the Tracer Cowboy with a Reinhardt in the mix here. As you'll have Masa now go to break, don't really need a Mercy. So this is obviously a composition that wants to brawl it out. Also, one where you're going to have Edison who will be able to pester Kevster on the Tracer, and then also Kai there to give him trouble.
All right, Kevster going to do his thing. Just get a touch on the point, but the Cowboy hits for 2. Matthew make it 3. Kai has the hot hand. He switches here for the Atlanta Reign, definitely paying off now with Edison going to Tracer. Was it Edison or Erster with the 6K pulse bomb on Eichenwald last year? I can't remember now.
I mean, well, considering how much they played
I think it was Erster.
I think it was, I imagine it was Edison, but See from Kai's POV here. Come around on a little flank.
Oh, we like a bit of that.
Yep. Little flash fan the hammer action. Is Gladiator's going to change, so adding some mobility in the mix here with the Sim. So Sim May. Maybe they can TP to the point. This is a composition that the longer the fight will go, you're going to have Birdring just get so charged up.
Okay, it's a bait. Actually back out of the TP before it can be destroyed. Birdring is charged up though, but Hawk catches Muse there. The Gladiators trying to get a little bit cute with this back and forth play with the teleporters. Unfortunately, it's their less mobile main tank that gets caught out.
Yeah, there were 2 players that didn't make it out. So Muse and Kebster ended up back by the spawn. Did not make it out with the TP. So maybe try this setup again. But the Brain starting to find some wins here on defense with this Reinhardt-based composition.
Feels like the May, definitely a reaction to seeing the Reinhardt. I think that the Gladiators really want to try and find positioning that favors them in terms of the wall actually cutting people off as opposed to people just walking around it. There would be no point in the Night's Watch if you could just go around the damn thing. So
well, the Gladiators now want these fights to go long, even adding the Brig in the mix, right? This is a composition that definitely wants to brawl it out.
That one gets eaten though. Edison not able to find the pulse bomb connection. A lot of turrets here, and this is the Gladiators' tech to play in these close quarters. Edison goes down here, but the Glads are still a little ponderous. They're unsure if this is the time to push towards the point. Instead, they take the high ground, and Hawk gets kicked out of his mech. Kai with the dead idea is able to find Shu. It looks like Space was unsure where the McCree was or how he was going to use the defense matrix effectively. The Widow switch here for Edison yields very little now as Birdring is ready to fight up close. The Sim wall, the perfect counter to switching to the Widow, and Kempster still has a Blizzard in reserve. He'll wait for an opportunity to make use of that and want to freeze the D.Va first. And yep, there it is. Gators walks straight into that one. Guess he missed the strong weather warning. Hawk is going to be desuited now into this as well. Edison's still a threat. Birdring a little low, needs to be careful. And the Immortality Field, he's able just to get there, but it's removed. It disappears in time. And the Glads have a minute and 15 after a full cap.
Man, Space has played so well. Even last map, but this map too, being able to eat that pulse bomb from Edison. You see when he just goes to the high ground, just gets right in Kai's face, just pushes him out into the hallway. It takes away the high ground from him straight away. And then once the Gladiators get on the point, it just kind of like a hawk in between each door, just kind of going between each spawn door. As soon as he sees whether it was like Kai or Edison, right in their face, ready to just challenge them at any moment. Playing so aggressive and decisive. Space really kind of, I mean, you want to say like coming into his own. It's like we've seen him play this well before. It's just been a bit, right? But I think that's with some of the downturns as the Gladiators as a whole, where he has really been on the rise as of late. Really, this entire season, as the Gladiators have performed well.
As simply as one of his best looks, this D.Va. The guy is incredibly good at spreading his influence, right? He's not just in the front line, prolonging Muse's lifespan or shield. He's not just in the back line, keeping someone like Shu alive. He goes in between, and then he identifies opportunities to go for targets himself and find these kills. Situational awareness is so hard to have as a D.Va player because you are constantly looking 180, then back in front of you, then trying to flick and catch something with the defense matrix. There's a ridiculous hierarchy of tasks to perform. This is why it's such a highly valued role, this flex tank, especially this D.Va role. Your impact really can't be understated.
Kind of just peeking with the Widow. See what we'll get from the Rain. So they're going to try maybe this TP as well. It's going to get scouted, though, by Birdring. Birdring's going to know this is coming, playing the Sombra.
Okay, so it's going to be, the Farah play here for Kevster. We have seen this before. This is not super rare. Oh my, that's perfect! That's the perfect kill!
That is so good from Kevster. You see, as soon as the TP goes down, he actually hits a concussive blast and knocks Iris away from it, which is a really sick play. 3 players still alive for Atlanta. So they may end up getting a kill on Shu here. No, it's going to be Shu and Hawk battling it out.
Hawk here. Should be able to build up neck. Here with him. Yeah, I think this has worked against them here. Hawk realizing Kevster was going to come for them eventually. So the Gladiators, they just clean up a little bit. 2 ticks were still gained by the Rain in a fight that they were never winning though.
Yeah. Still a pretty good start for Atlanta, and mind you, even for Atlanta, they didn't all make it through the TP, right? That's one where the strategy they were trying to employ doesn't really work out great, and they're still able to get 2 ticks from it. So this time, that's a huge bio grenade. I mean, there's going to be no follow-up, but still.
Well, it doesn't get any huger, you could say. 6 plays into that.
Kevster is just lurking above.
Yeah. Hawk, it's all on Hawk here to shut this down. Okay, nice TP. Hawk, yeah, okay, trying to get some information as he pushes up. Edison gets blown up, though the defense matrix comes a little bit too late in the day. There will be a resurrect to bring Kevster back into the fight, though, and Gator is looking a little low here. Muse is just driving into the mass of players, and Hawk actually gets caught by some of the AoE of the biotic grenade that was intended for Muse. He gets a nano boost now as well, and he can work this Rhine shield down. He does want to put a little bit of distance between himself and the enemy main tank, though, but another defensive biotic grenade on Muse means that Scoot can keep him up on his own, and Shu can focus elsewhere.
And I actually like the idea by the Rain there to take the fight to the point, knowing that Kevster is above with the barrage, a nano possibly on the table as well from Shu. You take that fight close on the point, you see it doesn't really give him great angles to barrage from him. It puts him really close to the Rain, where you could take him out rather quickly before he even gets anything highly impactful with it. Rally, this is going to be probably followed up by an EMP eventually from Birdring.
TP to the point for some of the Rain, not all of them, crucially. And Birdring now thinks about how to set this EMP up. It might be a pretty easy one. It catches 2. Immortality Field was already in play, and Iris is still alive for now. Well, I say that, Kevster gets rid of him. Barrage up close here, and Hawk's a little bit too late to the party. You might try and get rid of the Farah at the very least. Space needs some help, but Birdring's too low to really get his hands dirty here. It's going to be up to the Farah, and he can't touch either. The Atlanta Rain, they brawl it out, Matthew, and it pays off.
Even with, the Gladiators getting some kills, it's still the Atlanta Rain with really good point pressure. Space tries to get on and have a 1v1 against Edison, but Edison just gets stronger and stronger as that fight goes.
Like Goku,
Birdring will go over to Doom. So the Doom's actually pretty effective against the Sim. We've seen teams go to that in the past, and Muse go to the Winston here.
Birdring just needs to make sure his presence isn't scattered too early on. Great against the main and Sim both. I mean, Doom's not bothered by the walls like this one coming up now. Edison pops that. Kevster now needs to think about which side of this wall to try and play, and the Rain are going to make it really hard for him to find any damage. Kai finds a headshot on Skew through the air matrix at pretty extreme range. Space might have lessened the tension a little bit with his kill on Edison, but there's still so many players active, and Shu's able to win the 1v1 against Iris. He didn't know that Hawk was coming from, though. Hawk drops below the sight line of that balcony and then pops up and gets rid of the Ana. Skew now going to try and keep this one going with the Valka. Resurrect would be huge, and yes, Kevster's back into the fight. Blizzard's going to be used, but Kevster can get above that, and so can Muse on this Winston. Removed straight away, there was Hawk knows exactly how to play anti-air, and now it's just the supports left. The Atlanta Rain have more time to work with than the Gladiators right now. A great point B attack sees them ahead as we head into extra time.
Yeah, really good pushes there from the Atlanta Rain. Really, once they took point A, there was no defense there from the Gladiators on point B. A TP to close the gap. They get onto the point. They get Edison all charged up on the Sim. I know the wall separates a lot of players as well. And it just seemed like the Gladiators are really disjointed on defense. So the sub in for Pelican with Edison. Edison playing quite well here in map number 2. So it'll be the Gladiators on offense. And, what do you do here? Do you try and play the Bap Zen and work for a pick with, the Hangzhou Farah? Do you want to try and get maybe your own kind of point pressure? You came out with the Sim in the May the last time. You just switched off of it. Atlanta, they'll play the Torb Farah yet again.
Yeah, it's really going to be up to the Gladiators here to try and find a way of just being expedient as they approach the point. They could go for a TP play here with the Symmetra. They tried to get a little bit cute with the Sim at times on their attacking round. That was also on point B, though. And they'll need to be ready to brawl out a little bit. We see them use Ryan Hart.
Really, yeah, I was going to say, we don't see it too often, though. In this time of the meta, they've really been trending more towards, the ball and the Risa-based compositions. So
it's a bit of a giveaway what they're trying to do there, Matthew. Seeing the Rain here definitely implies they want a TP to point. So the question is, how quickly can their Rain destroy this TP? Can they break up the Gladiators as they try and approach the point? They'll have to be quick, real quick.
They're able to get everybody across.
Kevster, though, does go down. Iris just flings damage to the mix here, but it might be too late. Gator gets removed here. The brawl definitely favoring the Gladiators now as they have a Reinhardt in the middle of this fight. It's exactly where Muse wants to be. Birdring is also charged up and ready to go, and Kai can only really hop, skip, and jump away from the beam. He'll still be caught by it. And that's a pretty perfect execution of a very classic Sim TP composition that gives the Gladiators the point in like 40 seconds.
Yeah, and honestly, I think they were a little bit taken back by the Reinhardt look for the Gladiators. Like I mentioned, you've not seen them play that much of the Reinhardt comps during this, and that's going to be an early kill there from Space on Edison, so you may be able to take both here.
It's unclear if those were, how many of those rockets were boosted by the Amp Matrix, or if at all. Spike just does a great job of paving the way here for the Gladiators now. They got 2 on point. Skew doesn't want to leave for the time being. You can't be telling me they're about to capture this. This is ridiculous. The Resurrect gets broken up by Muse. He goes for the Shatter at point blank range, and why wouldn't you? He already got the charge on Iris. He takes care of the backline all on his own, and that is an incredible take from the Gladiators. Unreal.
And they do it with 22 seconds on the clock as Kebster, after the first point, he gets a little bit of a further back spawn, so he actually comes back on the 76, which makes a bit of an impact there. Sitting up on the high ground, being able to put some damage down as Hawk was trying to get in his face, got a DMAC. But man, I think a really good call there by the Gladiators. Definitely caught the Rain off guard. We'll see if the Gladiators try and change some things up on defense. It's a bit harder on defense, so you can't come out with like a Ryan look. I feel like there's so much that the offense can do to go and change and take advantage of it. But maybe they kind of bring May, I was thinking, but no. You'll probably see them play, Sombra Farah yet again.
Atlanta had to be bristling at that. They weren't in a position to really defend. The Gladiators were able to cross the gap and get on to point B so quickly with that composition, but really it's space that sets things up. Let's watch how he gets his Farah, man. Oh, Eddie's half. Did he get hit by one of those Symmetra balls?
Maybe.
I think
it's not.
I think he caught a stray.
Assist, yeah, possibly.
I don't know what it was there, but someone hit him, and it wasn't space. Had him down a half HP. Could have been, God, could have been the main, could have been anything. Either way, perfect awareness to go for that pick. Whew. All right, Atlanta now know they have to match this somehow. They're probably going to try a similar composition. I think it's too inflexible to play a Ryan comp on defense here, just in case you get, someone switches the ball or Orisa, God forbid. So the Gladiators know they're probably going to get TP'd on. There's nothing they can do about it. They're still going to play Orisa, but they play more far forward. Birdring translocates out, but Iris has already picked off. They've got the Farah playing much further forward.
Yeah, much more aggressive play than the last round, where you had Kipster, he was playing a little bit further back, but he's already got a barrage. I mean, that's how much damage he did in that first fight, where, you have to play close together if you're the Atlanta Reign, if you want to get this TP off.
Kevster expecting someone to TP to that top left. He's right. Oh. Here they go. Straight to the point. Big bio on
really nice. Yeah, it's a really nice manual hack by Birdring on the Hawk as he went through, so he wasn't able to use the defense matrix.
Iris and Edison, I think you're happy with those 2 picks there. Skewed knows he can't res that for now, but in time he may be able to. It's really a matter of getting the rest of the Gladiators in position, but they only have a Sombra outside of that Farah that they lost, so it might take some time, but Hulk has got manually hacked. He knows he's done. He is absolutely done.
The manual hack and another 4-player biotic grenade is your res shoe to get back in the fight. 1:20 now. So you don't have the rocket barrage for the Gladiators, but they're going to be TPing potentially into an EMP play, like an EMP. You have a nano maybe on a Kebster. A lot of options for the Gladiators to win this next fight.
Kebster's getting a lot of value here. Edison just had to be healed up with regenerative burst, and there's the EMP! Oh, Edison doesn't know what happened. He put down the bloody teleporter, and then it just vaporized in front of him. Edison removed now, Birdring the backline, building up his next EMP because the Glads are thinking ahead. They know they've got this fight wrapped up in a bow. And now it's a matter of getting rid of some of the extraneous elements. Hawk, namely.
And Birdring has been doing a really good job on these manual hacks. That EMP, I know he kind of talked about it yesterday, I think in the post-game, with like how his, he felt maybe wasn't the best. He's coming up with a big performance today. So, you have he's going to know that they have the Blizzard, right? Let's see if he can get a manual hack on Nakai. That would be huge for the Gladiators' chances.
Last chance saloon for the rain here to even have a shot at winning this map. Birdring spotted pretty early on and he translocates out, and here's that TP to point. Very direct approach here for the rain. Oh, with a mighty grenade, catches onto Iris. He has to use a premature immortality field, and that's removed. They get Gator as well, and the Gladiators are getting everything they want. Every decision comes up Millhouse for them here. And with Edison out of the picture, Kevster can get a little closer. He knows this is all but done. The remet kill on Iris is going to add insult to injury. And Hawk's self-destruct is really basically ignored. The wrecking ball here for Gator on the point, but he's hit with the manual hack, and that is that! The Gladiators take 2 maps in a row in this series, completely outsmarting the rain with a lesser time bank in extra time.
And the Gladiators, a team that we talked about for a while, is maybe a team that is not as resilient. You know, Atlanta comes in, sets a really good time, takes both points after the Gladiators collects 2. They come back in their extra time and they get both checkpoints yet again, and then hold first point on defense. Looking primed to potentially get that 3-0.
It's quite possible that second push was one of the fastest attacking times that we've ever seen on this particular map. It's more of an estimate based on our data, and yeah, it won't go up on any leaderboards anywhere, but it's just to give you an idea of how quick the Gladiators were. They had 1 minute and 15 seconds left. They finished the round with 30 seconds, or we get point A with 30 seconds left, excuse me. It's picture perfect stuff from the Gladiators. You cannot count on a map going the way it does, but the Gladiators now know they have Atlanta at match point. Then Pelican suffering from 240 ping has to be subbed out. Edison comes in, and now we know that, in terms of caliber of player, maybe the Rain aren't suffering too much, but it's the morale that's having to retool maybe some protocols around a different player, a DPS that's hurting them. Well, next map's their last chance to make something of this series. Otherwise, it's down to that lower bracket, and the Gladiators will advance to the final. Stick around, everybody. Map number 3 in this series. The Titans of the West are clashing, and so far the Gladiators are winning out.
Nice.
Oh, good shit.
Shit, bird.
Nice, nice.
Shake it.
One more.
Let's go, baby.
No one more.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by the University of Hawaii at Manoa. Go to takemetomanoa.org today.
That's right, the pirate ship is rocking in through the rough waters of the Countdown Cup tournament. You can get this legendary skin before August 30th for 200 League tokens. Check it out, not too shabby at all. I was quite pleased to discover that his turret is, it's like a crow's nest. It's just such a ridiculous skin. Obviously, if you don't know why there's a pirate ship bastion, I really encourage you to check out the annals of Overwatch League history. It is a homage to a very popular composition that played.
I mean, I'm pretty sure if you played Junkertown, you have some idea of how it works. I mean,
oh man, it's a great.
The map was designed with the pirate ship in mind. Or remember when we used to play the Pantheon comp in ranked on Hannah? we
should probably explain what the
Pantheon was. It was a good throwback. It was like what? It was like Orisa Tor. It was when you didn't have limits. I think it was like Orisa Torb, Bastion Sim. I think on the Hanamura.
Messed up.
Can't do that anymore. And it's a good thing you can.
I bet you though the Reign wish they could have on defense because the the Gladiators just busted them up there on Hanamura. Great map. You want to see like a sick way to come back from a huge time bank deficit? I recommend. They're like 90 seconds behind. So wonderful stuff there from the Gladiators. But the Atlanta Reign, they get another map pick, Matthew, and it's King's Row, which, in fairness, is not a map that you really, ever don't favor a team on, right? I think a lot of teams are really comfortable having this in their pool. There are very few that avoid it. Yeah. Especially knowing how these teams play right now. No Lucio, so we used to see a bunch of Ryan Rush compositions on this map, but now we actually get a little bit of variation at times. Outside of the fact that Wrecking Ball can struggle a bit on the second phase of this map for attackers, we've still seen it used effectively recently. In fact, it was yesterday.
Yeah, we did see it used yesterday. It's a pretty decent effect. What are they gonna play? No, I was gonna say you're not gonna play Moira here.
Love how you said it, Moira, not the Moira, dude.
Yeah, I mean not Moira, man. That's how you say it in ranked, or you're so upset. I think though this map selection, it forces the Gladiators to play a little bit more, or tries to force them into more of an Atlanta Reign type of game where you have to play some of the long-range stuff, whether it be a Hangzhou. You can still play a Pharah, though. I mean, that's something that you can definitely do here if you're the Glad. So it looks like Kevs are just looking. Right now it's skewed on Zen. You don't think so. So they'll play a Hangzhou with the Tracer, and they also have the Zen in the mix. So pretty good damage output here for the Gladiators.
Nothing to sneer at, that's for sure. The Gladiators always fancy having this nasty backline. Cheeky little headshot there from Birdering. Yeah, causing some concern for the Atlanta Reign. It was Gator that got discorded, and an Immortality field that had to be used early. Eddie, okay, he had a recall. He was able to get some health back, luckily.
Skewed, though, is able to sit on the high ground here, Mitch, and just throw the discords down, and everybody just following up on the damage from every angle. And he's finally dealt with Hawk. But that doesn't really kind of tell the whole story. They're actually trying to deal with him by just sending Edison over there up into the hotel to go after him. And Skew turns and lands basically a full volley of orbs and forces the recall on Edison. And Edison can't go back and challenge. That allows him to still sit up there on the high ground as the Zen, like a turret, just launching the discords down. And then you have so much damage coming from every angle. Kevster's behind you, Skewed with the discord on the high ground. You have Birdering at range. So difficult to stop.
That's a great Immortality build from Iris. He is trying to keep this team alive, but if it's not a pulse bomb, it's a bloody Zenyatta headshot that's going to claim Kai. 3 kills for the Gladiators here. The Atlanta Reign were hoping to try and hold close. Now that option has dematerialized, Matthew. The Atlanta Reign are lackluster right now. The Gladiators, they're definitely soaring. There's some confidence here, some swagger, if you will.
And obviously a difficult spot for this Atlanta Reign team, right? I know we've seen them play so well with Pelican in the lineup. Playing map number 1. Some issues, obviously, with him being in Atlanta, going all the way, trying to play a server very far away. And
it's Atlanta to Tokyo, mate. Like, what do you want?
Yeah, Edison coming in to try to fill those shoes. Honestly, I don't even really think that's the big difference. I think the Gladiators have been so elite today.
Kevster just ruins Edison there in the Tracer battle, but Kai might have saved the day. The Deadeye comes in. Ironically, it's the ability that requires no aim from a literal aim god, but they will fight Skewed the old-fashioned way. Sharp as attack is the McCreen. Just the moment for him to come alive, Matthew.
I mean, having the ability where you lose a player at the start and you can just have one of your DPS just march on forward, basically say, put the defense matrix in front of me and watch me kill everybody. I mean, that is a pretty good feeling to have, as he gets the double kill with the Deadeye, pushes on forward, puts so much damage down on the Kevser, forces him back. Sick fight
look
there
on
by
his
Kai.
face. It always looks like he's asking himself, like, what are these sloppy games he's doing on my screen? He just kicks one after another. He always looks slightly disgusted by what he's seeing. Edison's pulse doesn't connect. Yeah. I mean, Berdering's able to find Master there at decent length, and Kevster's giving a lot of respect here to the formation of the Rain, but they're eventually going to get brought down. One man's heroics, Kai, by the way, that is not going to be enough to keep the Rain alive here, and the Gladiators just keep chomping in the bit, Matthew. They'll be ready for a push into the Foundry stage with so much time on the clock.
And if Atlanta wants to try and get aggressive and play a little bit more brawly, right? I know now that I was going to say they had a Brig in the mix. Now they actually play the Mercy, so the res, the damage boost here available. It does make them a little bit more easier, obviously, for Kevster to dive onto them.
Berdering will eventually fancy some of the high ground, but Kai has switched to the Hangzhou as well to give him similar access. Edison tries to blink, he can't get away, and the Dragon Strike is well placed. Oh, Gator's too far forward of the Immortality field. Little mistakes starting to creep in here for the Atlanta Rain, and the Gladiators are capitalizing on every single one of them.
I think Kevster is just absolutely nuts. That ends up with a melee there towards the end, as it'll be Gator getting onto the point. The Wrecking Ball, he's going to get stuck, and that'll be the cart moving in with 3:37 in the time bank. That is a haymaker there from the Gladiators. That is a tremendous time.
And Kings Row against a team famed for their defensive prowess. They may as well have broken a world record on this bloody map at that rate. The Atlanta Rain, look, I mean, Edison on the Tracer there is not able to have the same impact as we've seen Pelican do. You know, we were shocked to see Pelican on the Tracer, right? It was only more of a recent development. You know, everyone's like, I didn't know he played Tracer. You know, he was like one of the best, and that's when he started to make his way into that Rookie of the Year MVP discussion. Edison is unfortunately not able to do the same thing, right? He's getting one clip by Kevster. He obviously gets picked off there by Birdring in that side room, and he's not getting those pulse bomb connections either.
Yeah, and I also just don't think you can really kind of say it's like a one-to-one thing, because a lot of the times when Edison is dying in those 1v1s to Kevster, he gets hit with like a Discord Orb or something. Not a lot of teams play the Discord with like a Brig, right? Like a Zen Brig. Zen Bap, right? There's the Immortality field, the Discord in the mix. So like with you being a Tracer and thinking about even going into the backline, right? So there's an Immortality field for you to deal with. Skewed could put a Discord on you, hit a few shots. I mean, Shu can be pretty aggro and trying to be defensive. There's a lot for you to deal with as a Tracer. I think Tracers have gotten so good at dealing with like Brigs now, right? Where it's not necessarily like where it's like, oh, they have
the best
Brig,
you can do
can't
against
play
Tracers
Tracer.
now.
Yeah.
I mean, the best you can do is like Basho, she tries to put a bomb on you, give you a McCree to shoot her in the head while she's stunned from shield bash, or just layer her with like a nade, but rarely does like a brick shield bash in a vacuum result in like a Tracer elimination unless everybody is looking. I mean, Edison was trying to go for a Hangzhou there, you know what I mean? Birdering just managed to find a Storm Arrow connection. Kai, constant pressure on that shield of Muses there, but hasn't really found any real advantage through the hotel.
We've seen some other teams run the Bapazed stuff. We've seen the Shock do it as well, because obviously Violet Twilight able to do it.
Don't the Outlaws
at a very
do it?
high level. I think we've seen it from them as well. No, we haven't seen it from them because
there's
they
more
play,
Brig, yeah, that's Jake.
Yeah, they play more Brig, but
I remember there's been a discussion, right? Bap Brig or Bap Zen, and why, how does it sort of work? It's something I wouldn't mind the desk to expand upon for us maybe later, but right here, it's obviously a mercy for the Atlanta Raiders. They're trying to make this Farah composition do work, but it's slow going. Iris are able to give a little bit of healing over towards Masa, and he gets away with his life, but Iris can't boast the same feat at all. And now this is going to be a stagger scenario for the Atlanta Rain, who just seem to be flagging a little bit, Matthew.
Space just in the right spot at the right time. I feel like always throughout this series. You know, trying to make a play in the back line with Edison and Masa. You know, he's really kind of the big damage source to push the Gladiators back, and Space right up in his face. Kevster, you know, with Muse working together, finish off some of these other players. This will be a Valkyrie on the way in, so popped a little bit early, trying to buy some space getting onto the point.
Pulse from Kevster, though. It's going to be definitely jumped over by Kai. Edison's here with a Discord Orb, though. Kevster's able to work him down as he gets too close to the ground. He'll be res back up now, and perhaps Kai is the one to look to as the savior in this scenario. Edison, though, is doing work, making good on his absence. And that Transcendence here is maybe a little late. The Gladiators are down to 4 players, and they still want to commit the Amplification Matrix. Anything they can do to stall this out a little longer, burn some more clock, because they know how far ahead that they are. Space, he's too far gone for healing right now. Skewed is busy with the Orisa in his face, with the Wrecking Ball. Amuses come back and they get gated with a self-destruct. Oh my! Is this possible? The Gladiators are able to fight their way back onto the point now, and Master can't do anything about it. What a ridiculous retake!
And they never kill Space inside of the hotel. They're on the point. They have both supports in that choke, and Space just in the hotel. It gets all healed up, goes out, lands a bomb. It ends up taking out Gator. Muse back on the Wrecking Ball. And then he just gets right up in both supports' face. Gives him a lot of trouble as they're off of the Pharah now. They're going to go play Tracer here. So see if they're able to get the point. They only got 1 tick out of that, man.
Space trying to ignore Edison, but eventually he's gonna require some attention. Gator gets plenty of TLC from the Gladiators, though. Oh my! The Discord Orb again for Skewed. Such a boon having 2 incredible Zenyatta players on the one roster, and Skewed is just making me look smart right now. Massa removed, 4 players left for the Reign. Edison gets just ruined between Kevster and Space, and the Atlanta Reign are on their last legs, Matthew. Not only in this map, but in this series.
Oh, I mean, Edison chases the kill. He's got the recall out of Kevster, and Space just right there on the opposite side.
He's insane.
Of the defense.
Space is unreal.
Yeah, with a defense matrix just right in his grill. I mean, sick stuff.
Dragon Strike there, Space. Can't do too much about that one. And they will split the point a little bit, but the Gladiators have Transcendence. They have Amp Matrix. They don't have Muse. So keep an eye on that one now, as it's going to be up to Space to mitigate some of this damage if possible. Skewed able to trade out, though. Gator on the Wrecking Ball doesn't really pan out, and the Immortality Field has already been used here by the Atlanta Reign. Edison has moved up to the point, but he sees the Transcendence of the Zenyatta, which is going to stymie his efforts to pressure the backline, and the Pulse Bomb just doesn't connect. Another heartbreaker for Edison, who's really been looking to impact the game on this Tracer and has fallen short in most cases. Kevster, though, well, he gets rid of Massa with the Pulse, and that will be that. The Atlanta Reign banished to the lower bracket as the Gladiators look better than ever.
The Gladiators played a tremendous series, being able to play so many different looks. I know Kevster really strong on the Tracer yet again, but also able to play some of the Hangzhou. You also have Bird Ring, you know, coming up better with the Sombra today. I mean, really a team clicking on all cylinders right now.
This is the time for the Los Angeles Gladiators getting to secure themselves a spot in playoffs and not have to worry about the play-ins would be monumental for a team that has had quite a stiff strength of schedule to fight through for much of this regular season.
Yeah, and I think with that win, right, that puts them above the Shock. So potentially the Shock end up in the play-ins because of this win. Atlanta was good in terms of, you know, league points, but that's a huge win for the Gladiators in their season. I mean, being able to potentially leave here as well, like with a championship going into playoffs, this team I feel like just needed an opportunity like this to take the next step, right? They have the talent. If they can win, see that they're capable of winning, who knows how good they can get in these big moments.
And we have confirmation. The San Francisco Shock have to play in play-ins now. They've been kicked out of that top bracket. And the Gladiators have secured their spot. Incredible performance, but we're not thinking big enough here. We're talking about winning this game and what it means, but there's a real chance that the Gladiators leave Hawaii with everything right now. Incredible performance from them so far. Not only, of course, handling the rain, but winning their first match in this tournament. It's looking very good for them. Let's talk about our player of the match, though, Matthew, for one of the best D.Va performances as far as the eye is concerned that we have seen in quite a while. It's your boy, Indy. Space popping off on a D.Va across this series. Man, he makes such a hard job look so easy.
And being able to protect the backline, the amount of aggression he puts on at the same time, the use of defense matrix, I mean, there's a lot of stuff when you watch D.Vas that doesn't really maybe end up in like stats or not in like highlight plays, but just always in the right position. I think he just means so much to this team, even as like a leader. He had himself a tremendous series today. I felt like he had a really, really good performance on the D.Va. Definitely, when they needed plays to be made, he came up with them consistently.
We're talking about a true veteran of the league, Matthew, that only serves to get better. That's not something that many long-standing players in the league can boast. This team has multiple of those individuals on it. The knockback kills is quite crucial. Obviously, 2.4 deaths per 10 minutes is much lower than Space's average, and I mean he's involved in so many of these elims. It's that fight on Kings Road defense, Matt, where it looks like the Gladiators are in deep trouble. Space dives forward, he contains the Fire of Mercy, buys time for Muse to come back into the fight, staying alive that entire time. I mean, obviously it takes an incredible backline to allow a D.Va to withstand such pressure, but on an individual level, I think Space was head and shoulders above today.
Well, with him being so aggressive, you would expect the deaths to be a little bit higher, but he's able to partake in so many, kills and engagements, but then also, play his life and not give it up at times where maybe another D.Va stays a little bit longer, where he had a really good game today, but also I think he's just had a real big bounce back season compared to last year.
Honorable mention as well to Skewed Matthew, who's picking up a lot of these Zenyatta duties, allowing Shu to sit on the Baptiste, and you have these incredible weapons in the back line now. We saw so much of Skewed playing the Brig, right, or being sat on the bench for Mock, but now we've realized that he is a legitimately elite level flex support player and provides another dimension to this Gladiators team that's only serving to get better. Who knows, perhaps we'll hear the Lions roar here at the end of our Countdown Cup. We're going to go to a break. When we come back, though, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to hear from Muse from the triumphant Los Angeles Gladiators. And, of course, they're looking higher and higher at the title here. But we'll hear what he had to say about the match after this.
Can you go die back? Can you go die back?
No, I'm killing D.Va.
I'm
Good shit.
Good fucking shit, boys. Nice.
Welcome to Game Break, everybody. We're joined now by Muse from Los Angeles Gladiators. Muse, congratulations on the match victory. 뮤즈 선수 인터뷰에서 너무 감사하고 또 오늘 승리 너무나도 축하드립니다.
감사합니다.
Alright, so unlike many have predicted, this match was very one-sided. How did you guys prepare for your match against the Atlanta Reign? And what were some of the mistakes that you guys were able to fix coming into today's match that Birdring mentioned in his post-match interview yesterday? 자, 첫 번째 질문은 오늘 좀 많은 사람들의 예상과는 다르게 아주 빠른 글래디의 3대0 승리였는데요. 오늘 아틀란타와의 경기 좀 어떻게 준비를 하셨고 또 어제 버드링 선수가 살짝 말씀을 하셨던 그 짜잘짜잘한 그런 좀 이렇게 좀 미스테이크 갑자기 한국말 기억이 안 나. 미스테이크 뭐였지?
실수.
실수! Thank you. Sorry guys, I completely just forgot what mistake was in Korean, but yes, it was 실수. 네, 그 짜잘짜잘한 그런 실수들을 어제 버딩 선수가 좀 어떻게 말씀을 하셨던 그런 것들을 좀 어떻게 고쳐 나가셨나요?
첫 번째로 저희가 그동안 아틀란타를 이제 다이브 조합으로 깨려는 걸 시도했었는데 이번에는 이제 그냥 맛 오리사로 이겨보자 해서 그걸 맛 오리사 조합으로 많이 준비했고요. 그다음 어제 짜잘한 실수는 이제 누구는 된다, 누구는 안 된다 이런 것들이 많이 갈렸었는데 오늘은 그런 실수가 없어서 되게 원사이드한 경기를 만들 수 있었던 것 같아요.
So throughout the whole season, when we were going up against Atlanta Reign, our thought process was for our match against the Atlanta Reign, we really wanted to beat, or we always try to beat Atlanta Reign's competition with a dive competition, just going in aggressive and diving into their backline and the opponents. But coming into today's match, we sort of thought in a different way where we wanted to mirror their competition, hence why you guys saw the Orisa mirror, and that is why I feel like we sort of had the upper hand going against the Atlanta Reign because we were able to change up the composition. And for the mistakes that Birdring has mentioned before, which was yesterday, we had miscommunications where some people thought something would work and while the other teammates didn't think it was going to work, so we had a constant discussion during the matches. But today that wasn't the case. We were sort of in an agreement most of the time, so that is why we had a very good match and a very quick one-sided win for the Los Angeles Gladiators. Alright, one more question for you, Muse. You guys are finally moving on to the tournament finals. Who do you think will be your opponent tomorrow for the final match of the Countdown Cup and why? 자, 두 번째 질문은 이제 드디어 글래디에이터스가 이번 토너먼트 결승전으로 올라가게 됐는데요. 뮤즈 선수 보실 때는 이제 내일 경기에서 좀 상대가 누가 될 거라고 이제 좀 예상을 하시나요?
제가 생각했을 때는 내일 상대는 청두가 될 것 같아요. 아틀란타의 펠리칸이 지금 되게 높은 핑에서 하잖아요. 그래서 청두가 좀 이길 것 같은 느낌?
Alright, I would like to predict that our final opponent for the Countdown Cup will be the Chengdu Hunters, mainly because Atlanta Reign currently, Pelican is playing on a very high ping, so I believe Chengdu Hunters will have the upper hand in their match that's coming up very, very soon. Alright, Muse, thank you so much for the interview. That is it for the interview, and congratulations again on your win. 뮤즈 선수 이걸로 인터뷰를 마치도록 하겠습니다. 그리고 승리 너무나 축하드리고 내일 뵙도록 하겠습니다.
감사합니다. 바이바이.
Thank you so much. Let's head back to the desk.
Thank you so much, Danny, for getting the inside scoop. Congratulations to the Gladiators. And of course, thank you so much, Muse, for taking the time for a quick chat. Now, here are our updated Countdown Cup brackets. Gladiators is making the first appearance in those finals, and they are now waiting their opponents, or are awaiting their opponents, rather. And it's going to be either Atlanta Reign or, whoever they're facing off against. I swear I can read a bracket. I'm getting there. You know, I live and learn.
I love how
No, first we need to decide which team is going to be the first one to go out, and the winner of this next match will have to face off against Atlanta Reign. The winner of that one will face off against the Gladiators. Yeah, I got it. Now, this one is going to be interesting, though, and I do believe a tough one to predict as well. However, I first want to kind of summarize this game, which, quite frankly, was a quick one, a lot quicker than we expected, but also you know, Atlanta got unlucky, to say the least. Now, these two teams played just a few weeks ago, actually, in the qualifiers, and it went all the way to map 5. It was a close one, and Atlanta Reign ended up having the upper hand. But today, it was just all the Gladiators. Atlanta, as I said, got unlucky. They had to sub out Pelican, which was one of the big win conditions, but he just couldn't play on such a high ping. And I mean, Gladiators just showed us so many different looks, and they looked so competent in all of them.
Yeah, let me begin by addressing the elephant in the room. Obviously, unfortunate that Pelican wasn't able to play, just playing on way too high a ping today. Yeah, well, that's different kind of bird, you know, elephants are. But like, I don't want to take away, like, obviously the effects of having Edison in were highlighted heavily on this Hanamura map. But for the most part, I do need to give credit to the Los Angeles Gladiators because they played so well around the start from the Atlanta Reign, and we just heard it from Muse himself saying, you know, we understood, instead of trying to dive them and beat them with a different style, we're going to mirror it. And the major adaptation that I loved from the Gladiators was having Shu and Skewed on that Baptiste and the Zenyatta, because Skewed, funnily enough, fun fact, is actually a flex support player who was used to playing the Zenyatta. He's just really good at Brigitte. So that gave them the edge, because with Baptiste and Zenyatta, it's a very greedy backline to play, but it has so much damage, and that's the advantage that the Gladiators got, because they know that the Atlanta Reign aren't going to play aggressively and dive. That allows them to play that style, and that's why they had more damage than Atlanta, and it felt like it was just so oppressive. And the Atlanta Reign unfortunately did crumble on that King's Road that we were just looking there. They didn't really have the chops to sort of deal with what the Gladiators were doing. So massive play by the Gladiators. They finally hit that form we were hoping for. Yeah, Johnny.
Can I put you on the spot?
Okay, yes.
LA Gladiators.
I don't know where it's going.
Do they have the second best support line in the entire league?
Oh, okay, Johnny. Let's slow our roll.
Lee Jae-gon Isayaki. Okay, Lee Jae-gon Isayaki.
Stu Jexe
and Shu.
Alarm Funny Astro. You're asking me to go over a lot of people. In this meta, I will give you this. In this meta, I think they might be one of the best backlines that we have. Skewed on that Brigitte, also able to flex over to that Zenyatta that I was just talking about. Shu able to play that Anna and Baptiste. I think it's such a good, and I think that's going to lead them to the win here. But overall, the best backline in the league. Slow it, calm down a little bit.
I said second. Okay, you didn't take the bait.
Well, still,
I'm proud of you.
You're insulting some Philly fans somewhere.
Quite a bait right there, Reinforce. That was his Reddit moment of the day. There we have it. Now it is time to look at our full screen graphic of the Western season standing to see where we at, because with this very victory, the Gladiators actually secured a top 3 spot in the West season standings, which of course is going to be huge because they do not have to play in those quite frankly dreaded play-ins. Meanwhile, the Shock got knocked down there, so they have to fight their way into the playoffs. So, Shock fans, yeah, that's gonna put you on the edge of your seats for that one, with everything to play and everything on the line for the Shock in that first play-in round. Now, of course, huge congratulations to the Los Angeles Gladiators. They showed a phenomenal performance so far in the Countdown Cup and, of course, in the tournament as well. Just so much versatility, adaptability, and yeah, they deserve to be in that grand final. Now, again, of course, Atlanta Reign, they do have a second chance. They're not out just yet, but it's not going to get any easier. Now, our next match has also serious playoff implications, because the Dynasty and the Hunters, they are not only fighting to stay alive in this tournament, no, are going to beat that dead panda or horse or tiger, whatever it is. It's going to be beaten.
Jesus.
That's right. Because they are also playing for postseason playoff spot. They are very, very close in the standings, and whoever wins this one is going to make it into the playoffs together with the Shanghai Dragons. So lots on the line, lots of pressure reinforced.
Absolutely. As you mentioned, Chengdu Hunters, they have one more league point, and Seoul has a tiebreaker. So if Seoul wins, of course, they surpass Chengdu Hunters. They secure the second playoff spot in the APAC region. Just like you said, Zoe. I just wanted to reiterate it so the audience knows. Okay,
everyone, say it with me.
Everyone, say it with me. No, we're not gonna do that. We're not gonna do that. Last time I tried to sing, it was like with Brendan Sartre and Golden Boy. It didn't work. It didn't work. We're not doing that again. We're staying away. But this match, with the implication, is of course going to be a great match. But also, the stylistic difference between these two teams are going to be very interesting. Chengdu Hunters, we like to talk about their aggression, Jinmu playing the Pharah, being aggressive, getting himself into the enemy backline, Gaga finding so much value on that wrecking ball, but also being able to play this Orisa composition. Chengdu Hunters, they have two great different playstyles, whether with the wrecking ball or the Orisa. The Seoul Dynasty, they like to put creative on that Zenyatta and take it slow and let Fitz and Prophet be the difference makers. And I think this is going to be a very interesting stylistic matchup because Seoul Dynasty, they just tell Fitz and Prophet, like, figure it out. Like, we'll just sit here with our backline and you two figure out how to win the game. But they're a very cerebral team. Like, they're smart. Like, they know how to engage. They know where to go. They know how to draw their opponent's positioning. And against the Chengdu Hunters, that could work very brilliantly. So I'm looking forward to see if the Seoul Dynasty, they can rely on Fitz and Prophet to win them this game, or if the Chengdu Hunters are just going to overpower them with their individual skill. It's going to be a great match.
Yeah, I want to see this one just completely derailing into the brawl of a century. That's what I want to see. And there is a lot of potential to have that happen, considering those two teams. And honestly, there is no better caster pair to bring in for all the chaos, all the madness, all the hopium and copium combined than Bren and Sideshow. Welcome, guys.
I got a couple of things to unpack from that death segment.
Please do.
That entire
No,
piece.
let's not.
Starting with Custer, I've got a question for you. The shield character in the backline, the support character.
Yeah.
What is she called?
Yeah.
She's from France,
Brigitte.
Brigitte, as you heard.
Okay, can you pronounce the full name?
Brigitte. Yeah.
Brigitte. I heard multiple
Brigitte.
times.
That's what he's saying.
And
That's what he's saying.
Just enough for me to think, ooh, that's not a mistake. You don't know how to pronounce Brigitte.
Well,
And so you just thought you put
I
him
thought
on
it
the
was
spot
Brigitte.
in front of all of the viewers.
Why are they showing me? I didn't say it. I know how to say her name. I can say Brigitte.
We
Like,
might be.
look at him. He said Brigitte.
We might be in the Countdown Cup. This might be one of the most important matches for both of these teams. But I've got a bone to pick with you, Scott. And that was the first one. What was the second one? I've forgotten already. It wasn't with
I've
you,
no
Scott.
idea.
It was with. I think it was with Johnny.
Oh,
Johnny,
nice.
the last time you
Yeah,
sang
Johnny.
was with us.
It's sad, right? Isn't it?
Maybe. I think so.
I don't know
That
what
was
he's
the
talking
desk
about.
anyway. I don't
He
sing
said
on
the last
desks a
time
lot.
The last time I sang was with us, me and you, Josh, and,
It might have been
and GB
might
as
have
well.
been cheerleading. Might have been cheerleading at the World Cup. I don't know. I
Yeah,
can't tap
that's
into
singing.
Jonathan's parents. They
Cheerleading
don't-
is singing. No?
Yeah, it's less of a
I have
bone
no
to pick
memory of
and
any
more
of
of a. And more of I hope you learn to sing again, Johnny, sometime soon as well. The joy of music
Beautiful.
is a
Let's
fantastic aspect
go.
in anyone's life.
Let's
Anyway,
go.
Overwatch
Yeah.
aspect.
Anything else,
that-
Bren?
that's
It
what
feels
we're
like
here
you're
for.
just throwing
No,
hands here. Are Danny and I okay? Or?
Yeah,
Can
you
we-
guys
can we
are
go?
fine.
Okay, good.
Can we go? Oh,
thanks.
thank
Yeah,
you.
we can talk. We can talk about the Overwatch. No, you can't leave just yet. I want to talk about this match.
okay.
I have a question
so-
for the desk, Brent. If you
oh,
quite
not
done
you
with
now.
that. I have a
Okay.
question.
Go on.
Good
One
cop,
question.
bad cop. Jesus Christ. Oh my god, here we go.
When you look at the result of the prior game, right, and the Gladiators come in and steamroll Atlanta, I'm sure you're all feeling relatively confident in your Chengdu pick, given how close they were to the Gladiators. What's the win condition for Seoul? What do you think they have to do to actually get the win here?
All right. I got this one, Costa. I got this one, okay?
Oh, you got it? Okay.
Seoul Dynasty, they're smart, okay? And I think they can abuse Chengdu Hunters' positioning. I broke it down yesterday in a telestration. If you watched our pre-show, sideshow, okay?
I did, I loved it.
Late young on that D.Va. I really do think that you can force his positioning by either going for the back line or going for the front line and then just dive around him. Fitz and Prophet, I think they've dived beautifully so far in the Countdown Cup. Whenever Fitz has that EMP, Prophet always comes in and capitalizes on that fact. So I think that Seoul Dynasty are quite a cerebral team. And if they cannot take Chengdu Hunters in a straight up fight, team for team, I do think that they could potentially have a win condition by playing smart around the Chengdu Hunters and drawing them
Sombra
out.
Tracer kind
yesterday,
of stuff, though. Is that what you mean?
Sorry?
Sombra Tracer stuff, like actually dive
Yeah,
down
play it
more
fast,
so
yeah.
than the
Because
Orisa.
we saw yesterday how Jinmu on the Pharah, he was kind of lost because the Gladiators were so fast in the back line and Jinmu couldn't play aggressive, and so he was a bit torn with his Pharah positioning. I think the Seoul Dynasty, if they play it smartly, I'm not saying they will, because they're Seoul Dynasty,
I was about to
but
say,
they
like,
could
there's a
play
huge
it
chance
smartly.
of them just taking a mirror match for no reason whatsoever and then get absolutely booted off the map. That's what I'm expecting.
Gesture Ryan, let's not see it. That's all I ask for.
I kind of want to see it now. That'd kind of be interesting.
Oh, no.
Okay, I gotta cut it off here. I'm sorry, Custer and Johnny.
How dare
for
you,
on the
Brent.
spot as well. I do feel quite bad about that. But yeah, it's time to get the game underway because this is an important one. This is not just for the implications of the Countdown Cup in terms of it being the first round of knockouts when we're actually in it. I'm going to hit it again, Josh. Yeah, it's incredibly important for the overall playoff spot in the Eastern Division because it's only 2 teams that can lock it up. Already one of them is secured, and that's the Shanghai Dragons. That number 2 spot, though, still up for grabs, and it's the winner of this match here, right now, between both these teams that is going to decide it. Huge implications between both of them, and you definitely don't want to be playing in the play-ins overall. We've already seen the San Francisco Shock. It was out of their hands. They have been knocked out of the overall playoffs in the Western Division now after the back,
at least that guaranteed spot.
Exactly, off the back of the Gladiators making it to the finals of the Countdown Cup now for the upper bracket. So a really important match between both these teams. And let's take a look at the Seoul Dynasty starting lineup as well. 2 players that I think as well that Johnny was highlighting, and I also agree with him that are going to be vitally important to a win today. Profit and Fitz. And I was reviewing some of the Seoul Dynasty's footage as well. Fitz, man, I don't know where it snuck up on me. He's been having a good season all year round.
Amazing season.
I've still got these old narratives in my mind about him as a player, but my God, the improvements he's made over the course of his Overwatch career, it's astounding. And him and Profit, now as a duo, my goodness, they are looking sublime.
Even coming into last season, I thought that this might have been one of the best DPS lineups that we had in the entire league. And then they kind of got overshadowed a little bit by the Shanghai Dragons lineup. And the Seoul Dynasty's DPS, they still come up with huge performances every game, just game on game. They've been consistent all year long. Sure, they haven't made it to the same stage finals that the Chengdu have, 3 in total, while Seoul, this is their first appearance. But still, in terms of their regular season matches, they've always been there, they've always turned up, they've always been the win condition for Seoul Dynasty.
But the Chengdu Hunters are going to be coming into this one probably feeling quite confident, honestly. It's not ideal that they're in this spot right now, but against the Seoul Dynasty, it's an opponent that they've faced many times across franchise history as well. Both of these teams, Seoul and Chengdu, the times they've battled is 9 times. It's currently leading 5-4 to the Seoul Dynasty. So the Chengdu Hunters looking to potentially even it up over the course of the history of things. And what a way to do it in such an important match.
Yeah, both of these teams have had such different journeys throughout this year. Like I said, in terms of stage finals, Chengdu are miles ahead. They made it to the main melee. Then they've also been to the Summer Showdown where they made the finals. And now we're here in the Countdown Cup. But Seoul have just been plugging away, slowly, solidly, under the radar for most people. But they have a fantastic regular season record. And this is their opportunity to show that they're capable of more. Whenever we think of Seoul, Brent, at least for me, I think of their players, particularly Profit and Gesture, just turning up towards the end of the year. They're great throughout the regular season, normally, especially Profit, is good, and then just once they get into playoff form, if those players find the right meta for them, or they just feel more engaged with what's going on because the games have more weight, they just suddenly rise to the top. Seoul making our grand finals last year, Profit and Gesture making grand finals and winning it in 2018. There's a lot of history of huge game, big game performances from these players, and there is no bigger game in their season so far than this one.
Oh yeah, it's the most important one over the course of this entire season. Obviously, looking towards the actual playoffs themselves, it might not be the most important over the course of the entire season, but for now, it is. Yeah. It's this match right here to decide who locks up that number 2 spot in the Eastern Division, and of course to continue in the Countdown Cup, which would be lovely, I think, for them as well. Get a bit of that playoff experience under their belt. Seoul Dynasty as a team are going to be looking for some of that. And here we are, we're rolling out on Ilios between both of these teams with slightly different looks and expectations when it comes to the compositions.
And people have been talking about in their analysis, Chengdu being the team more likely to play the ball, more likely to play dive kind of stuff. Here we see the sides flipped. Once more, beginning round of their control map. It's Gaga coming out on Orisa, and their opponents playing Tracer Sombra. This is what Jonathan said would be a primary win condition for Seoul, getting into that backline, try and punish Monk.
I'm inclined to agree, honestly. I think Gesture has looked a bit iffy on the tanks from time to time, but already, in the blink of an eye, the team fight pretty much almost over there. The Chengdu Hunters have found a multitude of pickoffs in the midst of all of that. A lot of that coming off the back of Jinmu's damage. You can see him 65% up to the barrage there, and he was just pumping that in when Seoul was trying to set up.
And not just that, Leave managed to win a 1v1 against Profit, doing a lot of damage to him and finish him off with a melee blow. That's going to be a duel to keep your eyes on this entire time. Hangzhou v Tracer has been the story, it feels, of a lot of these matches, because when you get an elite tier battle between the two, I don't know who ends up coming out on top. I think I'd give the benefit of the doubt to Leave at the moment.
Well, that's an opening pick onto Fitz, and more time. The Fitz isn't going to be building up that EMP, a critical ultimate for them to try and win out. Still, Tuyu is doing the Lord's work right now with Leave falling. D-Meg, though, it means there's going to be a free barrage for Jinmu. He's just going to offload that one off to the side. Does get the one kill. And he's definitely setting up a lot of damage still. Nice little Bionade there from Creative just to take him out. Eventil falling off the side of the map as well. Hacked over the gap, I think, by Fitz. Causing him to drop right down into the drink. This is the Seoul Dynasty just wrangling back the team fight into their control.
Chengdu have loved playing this Hanzo Farah kind of stuff, and it doesn't really offer you that much ability to fend off a Tracer or a Sombra, something like that, unless Leave is popping off. Unless he's directly winning those duels, the Seoul Dynasty should, in theory, be able to isolate targets like Monk or Leave, or even Gaga, who tends to stand on the point in his own little fortress. Here we go, Fitz looking for the Fire of Mercy, though, with this EMP break.
Yeah, but he's calming it right now, and he's going to be able to catch it. Onto Jinmu and Eventil.
Where did they go?
Them, but where is the follow-up there? I mean, they've dropped behind the building, so there's not going to be any follow-up whatsoever. That's a little whip shot there from Animo, but the boosters are online for Late Young, so still alive. The mine's pushing them away as well. This rally armor is going to be hard to chunk through. The Chengdu Hunters just trying to stay strong, but look at that hack onto Jinmu. They chase him off, take him out pretty quickly.
The res couldn't be denied.
Yeah,
despite the fact that Tuyu was right there with boosters available as well. They just don't want to invest into this. Seoul Dynasty are happy just to have this point control.
Leyan gets D-Mac. That's going to be the self-destruct, though, to try and get back into it. In Baby D.Va form, takes out Creative. It's going to pulse bomb off to the side. Profit finding two. Gesture following up as well. The coordination is quite elite. That's a little self-destruct off to the side as well. It's going to push them in and out. Chengdu not willing to give up this point just yet, but I feel like at this point, they're going to need a little bit more. They need a pick-off or two. Ultimates are available. Jinmu, we're using a barrage, but really no targets in line of sight of it to be able to get the kill. Fitz ends up going down anyway to the damage-boosted rocket. Maybe that's the opening they're looking for.
This is going to be a difficult one to flip over, though. Seoul have so many players that can just zigzag in and off the point. Profit being the primary one, and he gets taken out. Another great shot by Leave through the Ant Matrix, if it was even required, as he just helps clean up everybody else. Gesture falls, and now Seoul, though, they're left in a scenario where they just need to get value out of this EMP, and they've punished Gaga. Gaga was going down so much in Chengdu's opening game as well. His ball has been looking a little shaky, I gotta say, even though he's the ball that everyone thinks about as being that's his primary character.
Always trust Leave, though, to somehow turn it around. An arrow to the head, Profit's taken out. Still, Seoul Dynasty are looking dangerous right now. No one to deny that res onto Leave when he was taken out by Tuyu.
They have to chill. Oh, but they're going for it, Brent.
It's the committal of ultimates, yep, the nano boost and the EMP. Jinmu's on the floor. Is there going to be any sort of damage being done to them? No! It's the Chengdu Hunters who are turning it around. Round number one might just be going their way.
That's a huge mistake in terms of the shot calling. We'll see whether individual brilliance can turn it around for Profit. He's around. He's pretty close. Someone needs to touch the objective. Oh. And Profit does with his face. Straight into a mine. That's catastrophic for the Seoul Dynasty. He did. And this round was lost in that final decision to take the team fight there. They had the EMP. They knew that they wanted to go for it, but a small disengage and a little bit of patience would have paid off so much better for the Seoul Dynasty.
For the Chengdu Hunters, that's easy days. The Ant Matrix is on the field as well. Impossible for Seoul to really push onto the point and contest it. Yeah, it's the little bits of decision-making right there that I think is going to play as a difference maker, I think, throughout this series right here. The Seoul Dynasty being, you know, not having that that patience, discipline, if you will, I suppose, in those key moments when it's really getting rough. It definitely played a part in them losing that initial round, but still, not over yet. Plenty more action where that came from.
See what compositions both teams choose to go with. Looks like almost essentially a flip in terms of what style they want to go for heading into Ruins. The Hunters going for the ball comp with the Zen Brig backline as well. whereas the Seoul Dynasty are going for that long-range poke, maybe anticipating Chengdu to be running the Orisa here, because they've got a huge amount of shield break. They also have some decent punish for Gaga's ball, though. He's going to have to play things very carefully, even with the bubble from late game.
Yeah, and it can be difficult as a Zarya player, I think, to get a lot of value out of the bubbles and get a lot of charge, especially when Gaga, I mean, yoinked forwards, tries to roll out, but taken out straight away. There was no bubble, there was no immortality field to save him. You've immediately lost one of your main primary tanks that's going to be initiating in for you. That's Evil, just right off the map there from the hole. 2U's deciding, okay, might as well just reset.
He wants to go and see Evil Tom. They're good friends. Soul. Oh, hello. There's a lot of pressure actually here in the backline. Gaga and Leave combining together. They're trying to turn this fight around even before some of the rest of them have come off spawn. This is just an abuse of 2U being away from the backline there.
I think Seoul honestly got a bit caught off guard. I think 2U resetting, maybe anticipating that the fight was easily won. And he wasn't really necessary to be staying around there in the Baby D.Va form, but it has not paid off in the slightest. That's Leave as well, just coordinating up that aggression in the backline. They just chewed him up.
And I've got to say, I'm so glad that Leave is playing Tracer here. He was popping off yesterday when it came to his Hangzhou, his Genji, picks like that. But we didn't really see him pick up the Tracer too much. And that's where I want to see this battle. Can Leave hard carry his team on Tracer? Jinmu's Sombra is more than serviceable. Leave that to him.
I'm out of here.
Yeah. Jinmu's definitely been making improvements to the Sombra, but Gaga's first death again in these team fights. Doesn't even get the chance to. So much crowd control to Seoul Dynasty's offering. It's very difficult, I think, to get value out of the Wrecking Ball, even at the best of times. The EMP from Jinmu was laid onto a bunch of the Seoul Dynasty, but not enough to really get too much done. Still, see Leave still putting in the good work, and there's Fitch just firing right through the window, just trying to push them all the way, pressure them out. The coordination is there. Chengdu are in control at this point, but probably not for much longer.
Yeah, they're eventually going to get picked apart there. Leave did find a good kill onto Prophet, who's now gone over to the Torbjorn as well, just applying additional pressure to Leave. And this is one of the reasons why people don't enjoy playing Tracer in this meta. Look what Leave has to deal with here. He's got to worry about the D.Va harassing him and just gobbling up his bullets with the defense matrix. Plus, that backline with the Brig in it and then a Torb and a Flash to have to maneuver around. Yeah, very difficult. But the reason that I still want Leave to try this is because he's a superb player. He can make it work when other players might not be able to. Even when it looks like the wrong pick, Leave can come out with magic, and it allows that synergy with Gaga.
Especially with his pulse bomb in hand. Doesn't need to worry about the immortality field, but that is a quick little headshot across the map. Leave on 50 health. I mean, it doesn't matter about the damage fall off at the end of the day. Kill is a kill. And now they're pressing the advantage further forwards. Fitz just nailing every shot, locking them up. A good disengage though from the Chengdu Hunters, recognizing we can't afford to stagger anymore here.
And they still have that Graph Pulse combo. They're about getting close to another trance. Every time the Chengdu Hunters have a support ultimate to try and work with, they have the sustainability to be able to fight Seoul Dynasty just straight up in a big brawl, which usually they wouldn't. Hello, Prophet with the snipes, long range.
These picks are brutal, and Leaves had to use the recall just to try and take out the turrets as well. We're at 95% and counting. This is almost looking like a sure done deal unless Leave can get something big off of it. The post bomb just slightly off to the side, and the grab gets a 2U. What a play! What a performance! Unreal scenes. The Seoul Dynasty just holding on, and at this point, they got every advantage in the game. Under wraps, got a defensive positioning on lock. The overtime is burning, but that's going to be the round going their way. Going the distance on Ilios early on.
That's a Greek tragedy from Chengdu. They have this Grav Pulse combo that they're trying to get value out of for 3 team fights, and they just kept getting reset by long-range picks. The DPS line for the Seoul Dynasty doing so much work to stop team fights from happening before they even begin. And then when they finally take a little bit of space and get and press their Zarya upwards, the Grav just gets gobbled up. Great work here from 2U. Reading it perfect.
Yeah, that is magic. 2U, another player that's made just drastic improvements from one year to the next.
He really has. Yeah,
He's
even
been
throughout the
more than
season, I think,
serviceable.
actually.
Yeah.
I think early on in the season he was still looking a little shaky, but recently he's been looking great. And we're seeing Prophet on Genji.
Wow.
They're going for
Wow.
a Genji Sombra lineup here. Huge amounts of dive potential.
So important to coordinate it up though properly. The because, I mean, when you're running this, you really do have to sync up all the abilities to get the maximum effectiveness out of what Seoul's running here. They've already taken a bunch of damage. Creative, look at the pressure. Almost dead in the middle of this fight, and that's the backline gone. That's the trouble. Chengdu's comp just puts out so much consistent damage. It's really difficult unless you get a nasty neutral hack off. Fitz sets something up with the dive and the Bionades come all together. It's difficult. And now, Josh, it's the uphill battle. Trying to fight into Chengdu's comp when they've already got the forward positioning. It's a bit of a nightmare.
It is. They're just trying to deal with Fitz at the moment. Make sure that they push him out back to his previous translocator position and stop him from farming up the EMP. The Seoul died so early on that they haven't built up anywhere near to a nano boost, haven't built up to a primal at all. They just got blitzed. They got destroyed. The closest is Gaga when it comes to his supercharger. So, advantage firmly towards Chengdu here. Seoul Dynasty's ult cycling, not even close to coming online.
They're going to try and make a dive attempt work anyway. You see, Gaga actually did get the Fortify off. There was a neutral hack onto him, but the Immortality Field was there from Monk. Prophet just, I mean, that's optimistic. The Shurikens up into the sky. Superchargers around and about, but do they have any pressure for it? Look at that! Animo, he tried to just waddle up to him from the side, maybe in a bit of a blind spot. But listen, Sarissa is not a horse, doesn't have the blinders on, you know. He's going to be able to spot that from a mile away. Shoots him down. That's another easy teamfight win. Almost too easy here for the Chengdu Hunters now, when we're looking at 60% and counting, Josh.
Way too easy. And Seoul used their nano in that fight as well, Brent. No. So coming into the next one, they've got EMP, and that could be a game changer, but Chengdu are going to be planning around this. They have ults that are good for zoning, for relieving pressure from the rest of their team. If they can play Leave or Late Young off on an angle, their ults are going to be good for denying that space that Seoul wants to capitalize on once Fitz hits the EMP. And they know where Fitz is as well. Jinmu's spotting him from the skies. Got that eagle vision.
Yeah, you can see it all. We're literally looking at potentially the last team fight right now. Chengdu Hunters, look at the ults online for them. Seoul, it's the EMP. It's all on Fitz. It needs to be big. It's 99% and counting, but an aggressive play by Chengdu. The ultimates are committed. The sleep tower connects, but the damage, it might already be done. Still, they take out Jinmu. Could be an opening for them, but with creative down, 94% and counting. That's no nano boost for the fight, and everyone's being brought down to their knees. The Chengdu Hunters, they brought it to the overtime, but what a one-sided affair in the final round of Ilios. Not a problem for them, barely breaking a sweat, and Seoul playing this composition that relies so heavily around the ultimates. Not even an opportunity to use them.
They didn't use an EMP. They didn't use a Dragon Blade. They didn't use a Primal. They wasted one nano boost. You're right, Brett. That whole comp revolves around ult cycling, and they just couldn't take even the beginning of engagements to try and build them up. Maybe that composition works on a different map where you have more time and you're not constantly fighting against the clock. But on Control right there, they didn't even put up a fight. Chengdu waltz away with the first map.
Yep, some pretty critical mistakes, I would say, there from the Seoul Dynasty, preventing them from making that just ending a bit more competitive, I suppose. But the Chengdu Hunters leading with that one map advantage. They're going to be very happy with this one now. Heading into map 2, we're going to find out if Seoul can put up a bit more of a fight, because remember, the stakes are high. This is playing for that number 2 spot in the Eastern Division and to avoid the play-ins overall. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back with even more Overwatch League action.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by TeamSpeak, the official voice supplier of the Overwatch League.